The issue of workplace safety started during the Industrial Revolution in many of the new factories. Companies were still trying out new machines that turned out to be very dangerous.
The first safety laws were made in 1833. The safety laws improved the conditions of work for children and the amount of work they could do in a week. The Factory Act was passed, which stated that 4 factory inspectors must be put in each factory to make sure that the owners were following the laws. Although these laws did help improve workplace safety, many factories were still treating their workers terribly and made them work in very dangerous conditions. In 1970, the OSH Act was signed into power by Richard Nixon. The act set and enforced protective workplace safety and health standards. Under the OSH Act, employers are responsible for providing a safe and healthful workplace.
Yes, my father used to work in the printing industry, and when he was spending time in the factory, in the plant, he wasn't wearing ear protection at that time, so he suffered a severe hearing loss during all the time he spent in the plant, and thus suffered a severe hearing loss over the course of X number of years.
And this was because of a lack of, you think, like law set in place?
Right, there was no mandated law that you had to wear a certain kind of ear protection when you were in the factory.
Got it.
Unions were also created to help protect the workers by increasing their work conditions. The National Labor Union was created in 1866 to protect federal workers and make their jobs safer. The Clayton Antitrust Act of 1914 allowed employees to strike and boycott their employers, and was followed by the Public Contract and the Fair Labor Standard Act, which mandated a minimum wage, extra pay for overtime work, and basic child labor laws. Unions protected workers by paying standards and practice that raised the wages of non-unionized workers in occupations and industries, where there is a strong union presence. Collective bargaining fuels innovations in wages, benefits, and work practices that affect both unionized and non-unionized workers.
In our office, and we were with the architects and the furniture, the interior people today. And they have these things that you normally wouldn't have considered a few years ago, like wellness, where they have filtered water. They have extra air purifiers. They have seating that is ergonomically sound, so it doesn't hurt people's backs. Every employee now is going to have a rising desk or a desk that adjusts so that people can stand and do their work at a standing desk, or the desk will go up and down, so you could sit or stand to avoid being sitting in one position for long periods of time, which can.
The workers went on strike when they realized that was the only way that they could gain safety in the workplace. In 1842, the demands for fairer wages and conditions across many different industries finally exploded into the first modern general strike. Over 500,000 men took part in the strike. There are many modern strikes like the UK Postal Service, General Motors, and New York City Transit.
Back in the day, the job owners did not really lose any money. They didn't because they cared very little about worker safety back then and did not see it as a necessity to increase worker safety. As a result, many of the workers were mistreated and injured, but this did not affect the owners because they could just hire different workers if any of them quit or got injured. Now the increase in worker safety may cost the owners money, but long term it will save them lots of money. Every time a worker gets injured in any way, it costs the company money, and over the years it adds up. If the company can ensure that their workers don't get hurt or only get hurt very occasionally, they can end up saving a large amount of money in the long run.
Another example is when people are working late, we have them get Ubers because, they might be tired and it might be unsafe for them to drive home. So, we pay for, car service.
In a quote from Charles L. Harrington, who's the chairman and CEO of Parsons Corp., he said, "Our excellent safety performance over the past 7 years has been a key factor in reducing our insurance costs."
A few years ago, commercial project in Hermosa Beach, near the water, they dug a huge hole to put a pile for supporting the structure. The guy, he didn't have any harness on, and he fell in the hole head down, and immediately he choked. And the sand, like quicksand, covered him. If he did have the harness, he would have been alive now.
Business owners did not do too much to improve the workplace safety until the government stepped in and created laws like the Factory Act. Now, owners are more reluctant to improve safety to benefit the workers more, especially with the OSHA Acts, which forces owners to improve workplace safety. One example of how companies improved work is by using the Workplace Hazardous Materials Information System, which is a Canadian hazard communication system that helps identify hazardous material.
In the apparel industry for some time and working with sewing factories, and over the course of time they instituted certain rules that to save or to perhaps mitigate the sewing injuries from the sewers, where now they have certain guards they put in the sewing machines so someone can't sew off a finger or cut off a finger even when they cut fabric and stuff. So there's certain protection that they're mandated to put onto the different kinds of machines.
Mm-hmm.
So it avoids them getting severely hurt.
Right.
You know it's Nate